Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Kate at Omnitracs. Welcome you to our session, Learning How to Cut Routing Time with SaaS-Based Routing Tools. I want to go over a few quick administrative things. We are recording today's session, and it's going to be available to everyone after. Also want to encourage Q&A. As you have questions, feel free to type them. We will be conducting Q&A following the presentation. At this time, I'm going to introduce today's presenter, Phil Friedman. Phil is our Senior Product Manager for Omnitracs in our routing solutions. Phil, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Kate. Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Friedman, and in my role at Omnitracs Roadnet, I've been here about 8 years or so, and I've moved through various roles in the engineering department and in the product management department. And today I'm going to give you an overview of our routing tools and how they fit into a broader platform that provides value to transportation organizations. So when we talk about efficiency and moving through steps to provide efficiency, we really want to identify the different business processes and the steps in your business process and the aspects that the platform hits along those. So we're going to talk about routing, we're going to talk about managing your daily operations, and we're going to talk about analyzing those. And we're going to show how those are truly an end-to-end and complete solution to help you manage your day and your organization towards full efficiency and profitability. So on the routing, we're going to start with the daily process of how to organize your orders or your service jobs into efficient routes. The managing portion of it is going to address your dispatchers, your drivers, and it'll give you the ability to have that two-way communication and real-time visibility into what's going on in your operation. And on the analysis side of the world, we're going to talk about reporting and analytics tool that really help you close the loop as far as feeding back real-time and actual versus planned information to help you better run your business more efficiently and productively. So the solution that we're going to talk about is the Roadnet Anywhere platform. And from a platform standpoint, it's important to understand that this platform houses multiple products that all work in concert to provide this efficiency and productivity. Roadnet Anywhere is a SaaS or web-based solution. This means that there are few or no IT requirements, either initially or on an ongoing basis. And because it's connected to the cloud, it's working fully in a fully integrated fashion, and within minutes and not hours, you can organize your daily business. You can get routes you can get your orders down to the warehouse, get routes out the door in low cost and efficient solutions that are also customer service friendly. Once those routes are created, then you can manage and monitor in real time how those routes are progressing throughout the day and react accordingly. So we're going to start talking on about the routing aspect. So you have a router who needs to get those orders processed and down to the warehouse for picking, get them out the door as quickly as possible. And before we dive into the routing solution, I'm going to just ask the audience a quick question, and I'll ask you to respond on the poll. Do you currently use a route planning software? And we at Omnitracs encounter many different types of businesses along the spectrum. Some are still routing with paper and pencil. Some are using robust solutions, and everywhere in between. So there's something for everyone in Roadnet Anywhere, but it's very interesting to sometimes see how many businesses today are using route planning software. So if we take a look at the results, we'll see that today, actually, it's interesting to see that a lot of you are using route planning software, but even more aren't. So there's a lot of opportunity. We'll talk about optimization versus management, but it's important to realize that even just better managing your daily process provides immediate productivity gains and cost savings. So even if you would just send out your routes exactly as they are today, just from the fact that you're using a route planning software will already shrink the amount of time it takes to move through your daily process and streamline business both upstream and downstream from that routing. So when we dive into the routing, we're going to address three primary challenges, and I'm sure these are relatively common across the board. That routing takes a lot of time, and we can't just route how we want. We have to meet our customers' demands and particularly their time windows. And then, of course, there's always the challenge of transportation costs. And one thing we notice is that these are often exacerbated and exposed by a change in the business. Oftentimes it's due to growth. Sometimes it's due to change in management or customer interaction policies. So all of these types of changes generally, they don't create problems, but they'll generally expose and exacerbate existing problems that are related to these three challenges. So when we dive into the routing solution, we break it down into 4 steps that a router will walk through on a daily basis that the Roadnet Anywhere routing product will provide. So the first one is the router will add any new customers that have been sold over the last time period that now need to be routed for the first time. And this will generally be some small subset of the total customer base, depending on what the churn is for your business. The second step is to import today's orders, or sometimes depending on how you run your business, it would be for tomorrow. And the third step is create efficient routes. And finally, print the manifest or send the orders down to the warehouse and the routes over to the drivers. And what your router is looking at, what we're seeing here is the primary interface, how your router will manage their day. So these are just a couple of screens from Roadnet Anywhere. It's by no means all of it, but this is just the primary manifest view. So this is what we call our routing perspective. And we provide pre-configured views for ease of use, but also ultimate flexibility so that any user can drag windows, create their own perspectives, and create the views that work for them. It's an easy interface, and it has clearly defined areas, so you can always find what you want. This routing perspective that's pre-configured contains 4 key areas. The route summary on the top left shows top-line information about the route, such as cost, distance, and other key metrics. The stop lists below that, and you can see 2 stop lists side by side. Those contain stop-level detail about each route, and it lets you drag and drop between 2 routes or even between more than one route as needed to make these daily changes. And you can drag between those stop lists and the map as needed. There's an unassigned window on the bottom right there with any orders that are off-day orders that need special attention. And then, of course, the all-important map view on the top right, which really, for many routers, is extremely important to be able to see visually, especially managing those daily fluctuations. The routing product also provides reports, and this is just one sample here. We have a very robust roster of reports ranging from very operational focused reports that are used by the router or the driver or the warehouse, all the way to more historical and analytical that help managers and planners really drive efficiency through the business. Now, an important part of the routing product is not just that daily management of moving through the steps of daily routing, but it's also configuring the system so that it's perfectly tuned to your business. So when the system provides a routing solution, there's no one-size-fits-all. It's important that the software is able to be tuned specifically for your business, your industry, and your goals as a business. And that's what Roadnet Anywhere does. It has a simple to set up configuration, so you can start very simply if you want, but it is extremely configurable and can be tuned very precisely for your specific goals of, say, cost versus customer service versus balancing between routes and many other, literally hundreds of other options as needed. So now that we've talked about the routing aspect, let's talk about dispatch and management of real-time execution of routes. So the routes, the truck is loaded, drivers now left the dock, and they're going about their day. Now there's the dispatching solution, in contrast to routing, has more user types that it addresses, and there are different pieces of dispatching that address each of those users. So routing is primarily targeted for a router, but dispatching, you have your back office dispatcher who needs to monitor and make changes in real time. You have your driver who's actually executing, and you have your customer who's waiting to receive either their delivery or service, depending on what your business is. So it's important in real time to orchestrate all of the data and to be able to provide real-time visibility and actionable intelligence as appropriate to each of those parties. So we're going to walk through each of those three in turn. So the first we're going to talk about is that back office dispatch. And this would include either your dispatcher or potentially a customer service representative who needs to field phone calls or proactively reach out to your customers to tell them, here's an update on where your order is or where your load is. So dispatching is important, especially from the back office standpoint, because we want to minimize driver confusion. We want the dispatcher to be able to know what's going on and communicate proactively to the driver. So that communication to the driver is of critical importance. And of course, there are always these real-time changes. The driver may change from the plan, may deviate from the plan. It's important for the dispatcher to be able to see that and react accordingly. And ETAs, of course, are of critical importance. ETAs change over the day, and the back office needs to be able to respond and react appropriately. And overarching all of this is real-time changes. There may be road closures. There may be driver may decide to do something different for either legitimate or illegitimate reasons. Orders may come in last minute that need to be placed or serviced. And all at the same time, there is a strong demand to control costs and maintain that critical area of customer service. So again, looking at from a dispatcher standpoint, the 4 steps towards driving this efficiency are get the drivers out the door, monitor exceptions, and then at the end of the day, print the appropriate reports, and then create that feedback, use the reporting and analytics to feed back into the whole planning process and make improvements, whether it's through driver coaching, whether it's through better planning or data improvements all across the board. So what your dispatcher would be looking at is this, and again, this is just one perspective. There are many different views. You can look at more data-heavy views like the grids. You can look at it in a map. And you can see here that the route we're looking at was actually run pretty well according to plan. You can see the plan as the underlying line there, and then you can see those breadcrumb trails with the green arrows of what the driver actually did. And the system is fully configurable to provide exception-based notifications, so a dispatcher doesn't have to be sitting there and cycling through every route to see what's happening. They can choose to configure notifications based on many different types of exceptions that may happen, whether the driver is deviating from the plan or if a time window is projected to be missed, or speeding. Many different types of notifications are available, and it's fully configurable. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you have various reports that are geared towards more of the dispatcher or dispatch manager role, such as driver performance. These are critical for continuous improvement for the transportation organization. So having covered the back office, now we'll move to what the driver experience. So, of course, the driver experience is critical. The driver needs to be able to know what to do going into the day, to be able to receive communications of real-time changes, and also to be able to send information back that's collected as the driver goes about his or her day. So here's a sample of our mobile application. And it covers two key areas. So there's the trip management, which is basically telling the driver what they should be doing. And then the other area is proof of delivery, which is being able to collect information from the customers and report back to the back office or provide this proof of delivery to the end customers as configured. So on the left, you'll see the stop list, and this is just one view of the stop list. This is the stop list preview, but there's also for any given stop, you can see on the right here, it gives more detailed information of that particular stop, such as the location, the estimated time of arrivals, and a little bit of other information. And then also delivery quantities are available. Now, when we talk about the third user type of our real-time dispatching system, we're going to talk about your customers. And one of the products we have available is called Active Alert. And what this allows you to do is provide proactive notifications leveraging the inherent mapping and ETA engine. That's the same engine that will be used by your router and your dispatcher. It will provide accurate ETAs and proactively send those notifications to your customers. So it really allows you to take your customer service to the next level. Now, as we know, the way of the world is moving towards online and proactive pulling versus passive pushing of information to your customers. Your customers want to be able to pull information from you easily and very often without having to pick up the phone. So Active Alert allows you to, in a very configurable fashion, to allow your customers to receive those notifications. And the configurability is critical because you don't want to overwhelm your customers with potential spam email. You want to be able to carefully control your interaction with your customers, but without burdening them and causing it to making it seem like you're too much in their face or sending spam. And the way you can provide these notifications is either through text, email, or even embedding a custom component onto your own website that allows it to pull information from the Roadnet Anywhere system so your customers can log in, type in their order number, and receive those notifications through the website. So now we move on to the third aspect, which really closes the loop on your on this operation. So up until now, it's been a more linear progression through your business process. So you start with the routing, then it moves through the dispatcher down to the driver and receiving, and ultimately to your end customers. But how do you drive continuous improvement? And you do that through robust analytical tools. So we start off with the full suite of reports, as I mentioned before, but we don't just stop there. We have much more interactive and dashboard-based tools that allow you to pull all of the relevant transportation-specific data that's coming in through your single source of truth system and create dashboards that are specific to your needs. So because they are transportation-specific, they let you align your business goals, and as a transportation company or as a transportation organization, with these analytics. And this is an advantage over bolted-on or third-party analytical systems in which it's much harder to tease out the true transportation business value from more raw, unprocessed data. And this is truly the power that's provided from using a platform approach as opposed to multiple bolted together pieces. It allows you to take that linear process that moved from routing through to dispatching and really close that loop and create this virtuous cycle of continuous improvement driven by analytics, and that is not simply just numbers that are charts and high-level numbers, but it really, the Insight product, which is our integrated analytical tool, allows you to merge together your key performance indicators at any level of your organization, drill down all the way to the route level, and you'll see over here that by clicking on one of those bars, it'll actually take you to the historical data. So that way, as you're digging into maybe suspicious data or data that you want to use for driver coaching, you can see what actually happened on that map view, just like your dispatcher would have in real time. So to bring it all home, we talked about how Roadnet Anywhere is the platform that houses multiple products that hit on every part of your transportation process. So from routing to dispatching, including that active alert component, which ultimately pushes the data proactively to your customers, and then closing that loop with insight and the analytical tools that let you really become a more mature organization that's continually improving. And that's it for my content. I'm going to turn it over to Kate to moderate our Q&A session.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Phil. Appreciate it. And we did get some questions. I encourage folks to continue to type those into chat. We're going to go through as many as possible. And just reminding everyone that this session has been recorded. Before we jump into those really quickly, I did want to let everyone here know we are going to be hosting a users conference coming up here at the end of February, Omnitracs Outlook. We are going to be digging into the SaaS-based product as well as our mobile solutions, our telematics solutions as well. So please visit omnitracs.com/outlook for more information on that. Additionally, if you are interested in seeing a custom demo of this solution, you see our contact information here. Please reach out. So great. So a few things I'll dig into here, some specific questions. So the first one is the Roadnet mobile app. Is it available in the App Store? So how can people find that application?
Generally, what would happen is you will work through our sales team and our marketing team, and as when you purchase the dispatching product, the mobile app is included with that.
Perfect. All right, great. Outside of that, we have a specific question around the active alert solution. Can customers receive a notice when the drivers are running behind schedule?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the primary purpose of active alert, is that it's a no-touch solution from your standpoint, and it's proactively sent to the driver. So what's happening is that the system is monitoring the driver's current position through those GPS pings. The driver doesn't need to say that he's running late. It's fully automated, and we'll proactively send out that notification to your customer as configured by you.
Thank you, Phil. Another question just around traffic monitoring. How does Roadnet Anywhere incorporate traffic patterns into the solution, and is that real time? How does that work?
Well, what we do is we partner with a company called Inrix, who gathers information about historical traffic patterns. So when we provide routing solutions and real-time monitoring, we incorporate those traffic patterns. So it's not just, it's not just sort of what we call nominal traffic patterns. Basically, okay, if there were no traffic, it would take 10 minutes. Well, that's completely unrealistic in a rush hour situation. And our routing and dispatching solutions fully take those traffic patterns into account when projecting ETAs and route runtimes.
That's great. Excellent. Okay. A couple of additional questions here. So specifically, can a customer engage directly with the driver?
Well, generally what would happen is the engagement point is when the driver arrives. Oftentimes, you don't want drivers taking phone calls when they're out on the road. That's unsafe and unproductive. So the system is configured to give those proactive notifications when the driver is on the way. And when the driver does get there, oftentimes the driver is responsible for collecting information. And that's where that proof of delivery component comes into the whole mobile solution. So you might have something like a signature capture requirement, or you might have special instructions for the driver, which will be provided through the mobile. You might have a requirement to provide a receipt, or to scan the product as it comes off the truck, or to take a picture of the product in case it's damaged. So all of those aspects are included with the proof of delivery mobile component.
Great, thank you. So a specific question around the ELD mandate. Does the routing solution integrate with an ELD solution, specifically some of the ones that Omnitracs offers today?
So Roadnet is, of course, a part of the Omnitracs family, and Omnitracs offers a broad suite of products across the Omnitracs enterprise, and included with those are electronic logging devices. And as I'm sure you're all aware, there's a December 2017 deadline for adopting electronic logging devices, and Omnitracs is committed to providing top-of-the-line ELD-compliant solutions as we go forward, and working in concert with Roadnet Solutions.
That's great. Good to know. I know it's on everyone's mind. Just in terms of Roadnet, maybe a comparison to other routing solutions in the market, maybe anything unique that would be a consideration for this particular tool?
Well, there are a number of different factors. One of them is what I emphasized today, which is that holistic platform approach. So it's not just about doing this an ivory tower routing solution that may or may not be executable in reality, but it's really about planning, executing, and then feeding that back into the planning process so that you can actually take advantage of those planning tools. Now, on the planning side, there are the powerful algorithms are a differentiating factor by making them simple to use, but also extremely configurable. It allows you to take advantage of those tools in a realistic way for your business. And additionally, the engines, the algorithm engines, aren't an all-or-nothing proposition. It's not that you need to throw away your current routing methodologies or your current delivery days or time windows and start over from scratch or potentially completely uproot your routing solution every day. There's an entire spectrum of features that allows you to start where you are today with that consistency and potentially modify it over time, or to allow the system to provide suggestions in a gradual way that doesn't cause undue disruption to your process or to your customers.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Just adding to a question from earlier in terms of the traffic patterns, is there any consideration into the real-time aspect of road conditions? How do we manage that?
So that is something that we're strongly working on today. As we all know, that changing traffic conditions can impact the ETAs. So that's something that's on our roadmap to build out and to fully integrate across the board, and especially in that real-time dispatching situation. Okay.
Great. In terms of the Active Alert product, and then there's also our Insight Transportation Intelligence product, is it recommended that those should be included when purchasing the Roadnet Anywhere routing product?
Well, we've got plenty of users who just use the routing and they find value. But what those tend to be a better fit for is if your business doesn't have a lot of last-minute changes on a daily basis. That's where it tends to work well, that you can sort of plan and basically expect that will be executed without the need for real-time monitoring. But in particular, if your business has to deal with a lot of real-time changes, but even if they don't, that's where the dispatching is really a critical piece in this whole thing, because what that allows you to do is use the power of some of that routing, so basically the ability to suggest against the best route, or to be able to drag and drop and to instantaneously recalculate realistic ETAs is really critical, sometimes even more critical than that routing piece, to be honest. But where you get the most value is where you're using them in concert with each other. So you have that routing which has the powerful dynamic routing engine, but then you also have the dispatching piece, which allows you to monitor in real time, but also take advantage of the underlying calculation abilities that's baked into the platform as a whole.
That's great. Thank you. Just a couple more questions, and then we'll start to wrap up here. But in terms of the availability in Canada, specifically, of our solutions, and maybe other types of markets? How do we support that?
Yes, the solution is available in Canada and to a limited extent in different countries internationally.
Sure. Great. Excellent. Can we talk a little bit about what we are able to support in terms of reporting around delivery windows, time windows, a very important part of customer service?
Yeah, there are absolutely a number of different reports that we have that are either account-specific or route-specific that relate to on-time delivery, and that's a critical component when we talk about that feedback loop. So you want to plan for hitting time windows, but then you have to monitor whether those time windows will be hit. And what we actually find is putting accurate time windows or service windows into the system is one of the most critical components in system utilization. And we have reports that will help you improve your data over time, so that way you can track that if a time window is missed, well, sometimes it's because the time window is accurate, but something happened. Either the driver changed something or there was traffic. But oftentimes it's an indicator of, well, maybe the data needs to be improved, and sometimes it's a trigger for creating a program for drivers to actually collect this information from the accounts. The drivers are often the ones who are the closest to your customers. And we sometimes see that relatively mature organizations have an actual program where drivers, or a process where drivers can bring that information back to the office and validate or update those time windows for their accounts.
Excellent, excellent. What type of mapping technology do we use?
Well, in order to support our robust ETA engines, we actually have a large team in-house where we develop our own mapping solutions. So what we do is we purchase and partner to obtain raw map data, but unlike, say, embedding Google Maps in our application, we actually have our own mapping layer, and this, besides for being kind of cool, provides extreme value for our customers, and particularly in the trucking industry, where roads that are on maps are not always allowed for commercial vehicles. Sometimes there are roads that are closed that aren't reflected on that map data that's collected. Sometimes there are roads that you, in particular, don't want your drivers to take. So what the advantage that we provide by having our own mapping layer is that you can actually create your own map edits and have those be, again, as part of the whole platform. Those map edits are taken into account across all processes on the platform, from routing and the ETAs on the routing side to dispatching and to that active alert, proactive ETA notification to your customers. Those map edits are taken into account across the board. Okay.
Great. Thank you. A specific question about integrating with existing systems. Some folks are using other types of platforms and host systems and things like that. Specific question about an AS400 with routing information. Can we link to that tool?
Absolutely. I mean, AS400 is maybe one of the most common scenarios that we see. And our typical implementation includes integrations with the host system. Now, depending on what you want and maybe what your IT organization will dictate, we have various integration points that range from a flat file import on a daily basis all the way up to full web services integration, so that it's hands off for the router or the dispatcher on a daily basis.
That's great. Okay, good. So Phil, I think we just have one more question and we're going to wrap things up. Roadnet Anywhere, does it allow drivers to follow the route plan exactly how it was planned and to take the same roads specifically planned for them?
Yes, the Roadnet Anywhere will provide turn-by-turn instructions that you can provide to the driver, and that way hold your driver fully accountable. Additionally, for that real-time monitoring from the dispatcher, your dispatcher can follow the driver's path on the map and see if the driver is actually following those turn-by-turn instructions.
Excellent, great. Look, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Again, please feel free to contact us if you have any questions, would like more information, or to see a demo. Also, please visit omnitracs.com/outlook for our users conference this year. We're going to have a lot of powerful content around routing as well as other compliance and ELD mandate specific topics. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and take care.